City volunteers and Indonesian National Army help to alleviate the conditions of the destitute. COVID-19 test kit is developed by city doctors and researchers in cooperation with Academia Sinica. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Jenny Lee. Thank you for joining us. In this pandemic, many disadvantaged families in Indonesia have lost their incomes and livelihood. City volunteers and the National Army work together to distribute living supplies to those much needed. Here's a story.
A family of 9 is living in this simple house with dilapidated roofs and relies solely on food store business. Their lives are even harder because of the pandemic.
I didn't have any income in the past 4 months. I don't have motorbike, and my business is not good.
Seeing their housing and economic conditions with my eyes, I think they really need assistance.
The Indonesian National Armed Forces and Tzu Chi volunteers went there to provide daily necessities to residents.
The income of most of the residents here in Tangerang is quite unstable. Some of the residents do odd jobs while some are scavengers, so these materials can definitely reduce their burden.
The assistance team not only went to Tangerang district to help the families suffering from economic crisis, but went to different parts of Indonesia to offer help.
During the pandemic, we don't know what to do because our relatives who usually help us are also affected. I am really grateful.
We are very grateful to Tzu Chi for giving us living supplies. I think that many others also need assistance, support and care to deal with this wave of pandemic.
The assistant teams go into alleys of the campus to provide living supplies. Under the pandemic, warmth and assistance are there to accompany people to pass through difficulties.
Under the effects of the pandemic, the unemployment rate of New Jersey has increased to 16.6%, which is the second highest in the states. Tzu Chi New Jersey chapter has been giving out food supplies on a weekly basis after reopening in May.
Cloudy skies remain throughout the day, as if the family is undergoing unemployment, suffering from low income and limited food.
Plenty of people are unemployed, but they need food. Suddenly, the demand of food supplies increased. It happened too fast. Before, 150 households received supplies. Now the numbers have increased to 300. Has been like this for weeks.
Households in need of food supply have increased significantly. Tzu Chi's New Jersey chapter have been giving out food every week nonstop.
From the first station, you are going to get the instant rice. The reason we stop you is because we want to explain to you how to do it. It's very simple. Pour the water, wait for 20 minutes, boom, done.
Volunteers with proficiency in Spanish help with communication.
It's very delicious with vegetables inside. It's made by our Dharma masters in Taiwan. The main purpose of today is to promote vegetarianism. A lot of affected Spanish families here, when they received the goods from us, told us that because of health purposes, they've been eating vegetarian.
The package of supplies include jingsi instant rice and different kinds of vegetables and fruits, allowing a healthy diet for locals.
Carrots.
Max, these are for them. There are 2 in each envelope.
Tzu Chi becomes the shield for disadvantaged families during the epidemic and will always be there for them.
After a few months of hard work in the Great Love Farms in Mozambique, a plentiful harvest has enriched the volunteer spirit. The volunteers share with us that even when you're poor, you can still help people with other means. With
sufficient sunlight, these vegetables in organized rows have high moisture and are crispy and sweet. Yet 4 months ago, the Great Love Farm in Maputo was barren, but with the help of Tzu Chi volunteers, the farm revived and is flourishing now. This Great Love Farm, based in Metichura, also went through harvesting. Volunteers handpicked the tomatoes, while the county manager of Namatanda watches.
Wow.
The result of self-reliance produced a plentiful harvest, touched people's hearts. Volunteers, along with the county manager, went to visit Tzu Chi care recipients and sent them freshly harvested fruits and vegetables. Due to the current situation of the epidemic, some families leave a bowl outside of their homes. The fruits and vegetables can last them for days.
Your help made me very happy. You gave me food just like my parents. I'm very touched.
Thank you, Master Zheng Yan, for teaching us. Let us understand how to give our love to people in need.
Thank you, Master Zheng Yan. Your teaching has made me understand that I can still help others. Even though I don't have money, I could help with strength and love instead.
2 Great Love Farms went through great harvest. Tzu Chi volunteers now look for new farmlands, especially a land near the river, which makes farming easier.
Once we found this land, we share it with the landlord because our duty is to help others. This is why he gave us this land to work on, hoping that we can help more seniors.
Taking care of the farmland, locals have discovered that the seed of compassion has sprouted.
Since the end of July, South Korea has experienced torrential rain in many areas. Tzu Chi volunteers went to Chongcheon province to assess the damage and remind the residents to take heed of the storm warning.
The heavy rain kept falling, and the streets of Seoul City are all flooded because of stagnant water. South Korea was hit severely by rain. Following the heavy rains in the south and east at the end of July, the disaster continued in early August. This time, not only the capital, but also the neighboring Gyeonggi and Gangwon provinces, as well as Changcheon province in central of the country, also reported flooding. After torrential rains hit various parts of the central region, Tzu Chi volunteers went there to conduct disaster survey. Along the way, they saw the river surged, mudslides occurred in the mountainous area, and the roadbed was all flooded. Relevant government agencies have urgently implemented reinforcement measures.
It kept raining heavily last night, washing out the road ahead and the riverbed on both sides.
Volunteers went to the Zhejiang city in the North Chengcheon province to assess disaster damage. 73-year-old Mr. Park, whose home is located by the tributary of Zhejiang, the night of heavy rain almost emptied the foundation of his house, so he had to evacuate quickly.
Human cannot stop natural disasters from happening. It's all fate, right?
I have been living here for 18 years and never come across such a big flood. It's really scary.
The heavy rains are still continuing, and there may be the impact of Typhoon Hagupit in the future. Volunteers reminded the affected residents to pay attention to their safety at all times and do not take the typhoon lightly.
Tzu Chi University, Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital, and Academia Sinica jointly developed the IgM and IgG antibody detection kit for COVID-19. It has already been approved by the Ministry of Health and Welfare for epidemic prevention. The next goal is to distribute the test to countries struggling to contain COVID-19. Here's the news.
Tzu Chi University cooperated with Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital and Academia Sinica to develop a new COVID-19 double antibody test kit, which was approved by the Food and Drug Administration. It's the first test reagent in Taiwan that can detect 2 antibodies, IgM and IgG.
In the early stage of infection, you'll detect IgM. In mid-infection, detect IgM plus IgG, and in the recovery period or in the later stage of the infection, you'll detect IgG. This can allow us to understand how long this patient may have been infected with coronavirus. Then we can compare his symptoms and allow the doctor to provide a better diagnosis.
Since joining the COVID-19 cooperation platform established by Academia Sinica in March, Tzu Chi University and Taipei Tzu Chi Hospital rushed to work day and night on a test reagent and finally obtained approval for mass production. This reagent has also been imported under the permission of the Indonesian Ministry of Health and will be exported from Taiwan in the next 2 weeks.
Indonesia has ordered 500,000 doses from us. The country's policy is to do an antibody test first, and if it is positive, they will do a nucleic acid testing. Our product is now profit motivated, so the most important thing for us is letting everybody know that Taiwan can help.
With only a small amount of blood samples and no machines, within 10 to 15 minutes it can detect if one has been infected with coronavirus, and the patients can be immediately treated, which is a more effective use of medical resources.
Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital doctors let resident doctors out to a medical outreach. The outreach helps doctors to learn more about patients' conditions and medical status. The novice doctors also practice a very important skill, that is, how to interact and communicate with patients.
要多多运动，天天开心哈。
Saying blessings near Grandma's ear, this young resident doctor cordially conveys care to her.
If you chat about their inner feelings, they will feel more comfortable.
Walking into patient's home and using a pen to indicate medication prescriptions on a medication bag, Li Yigong passed on his experience to the resident doctors, making medical visits the best place to learn about medical communication.
It's good to go through their homes to give them some good cordial greetings or medical consultation. I think this is a very important mission.
The doctors went to their homes to care for them and give medical consolation to those who couldn't go out. This action really touches them. I think it's very great.
Dalian Tzu Chi Hospital cooperated with TIMA to go deep into the community, expanding medical outreach to celebrate its 20th anniversary. It not only deepened its medical education, but also reminded the young doctor generation not to forget their original inspiration of being a doctor.
Volunteer Wanase Jen was originally a care recipient. After receiving Tzu Chi's assistance, she decided to volunteer and care for the needy, including an elderly lady living on her own. Jen has had a difficult past, but now she has regained her foothold. She serves others with compassion and devotion.
The grandma, who hasn't seen Tzu Chi for a long time, is very happy to see her again. Back to the period when the movement restriction order was in place, volunteer Tzu Chi learned that the grandma, who is a chief care recipient, was very weak and even unable to open the door. She immediately asked the fire brigade to help open the door and send the grandma to the hospital. After the grandma was discharged and returned home, volunteer Tzu Chi went there to accompany the solitary grandma every day to take care of her. She only felt relief when the grandma arranged to stay in a nursing home.
People told me that she was back. I went to her home and saw she was sleeping. Her whole body was wet and could not get up alone. Nobody was there to help her. So I helped her wipe her body, change her diaper, wash her clothes, clean her wound if there was any, and buy her food to eat. Although she said she has no appetite every time, she got to eat something. In the morning, I would buy food and water for her and kept her company or chatted with her. Until about 6 o'clock in the evening, I went home. As long as she's happy, I'm happy.
That time MCO, I went to the government to get a letter of approval. They won't give it to me, so I can't do anything. So very fortunate that I have a Tzu Chi to help me to run all this one. I'm very appreciative, really without the fast action taken by Tzu Chi volunteers, I think my sister is gone already.
Tzu Chi, who is a Thai Chinese married a Malaysian, was actually a care recipient before.
I don't have any relatives here. I'm a Siamese. When I first came, I was stupid and couldn't speak Malaysian. I didn't go out to work. I knew nothing.
Her husband got dedicated to drugs, and she was a foreigner and couldn't get the government subsidy. Then I reported her case to Tzu Chi. She kept telling us that we should not help her too much, but just sponsor her rent. She would find ways to support her living expenses. So she worked at a singing station, also worked as a driver, a vendor, or to take care of the elderly.
After her life became stable, Tzu Chi gave of herself, trying her best to take care of those in need.
Because I have had a difficult time before, I understand your difficulties. As long as you're happy, I'm also happy. Both of us are fortunate. You're lucky to have my assistance, while I'm so lucky to help you.
Seeing her own responsibility in the needs of others, Tzu Chi gives of herself to help those in need with love.
Sintamani is a patient at Tzu Chi Butterworth Dialysis Center. When her eldest son fell to a stroke, the family lost their hope. Tzu Chi quickly provided assistance and financial support. Let's take a look.
During my childhood, she's the one taking care of me. Now she's like my baby, so I need to take care of her. I will take care of my mom till the end.
62-year-old Sintamani, as Mutu is blind and amputated, she relies on dialysis to maintain her health. Thankfully, though, she still has her eldest son and daughters for company. After her husband passed away, the eldest son took over supporting the family financially and emotionally. But in February of this year, the son had a stroke. Without their main pillar of support, the family was lost. Without an income, the family have been living off of their savings since.
We were worried. He's like one of our family who is in trouble. We visited to see how we can help.
As Malaysia was under movement control order, Tzu Chi volunteers could not visit their care recipients. However, they still thought of ways to help Kamalanathan, as the first 6 months after a stroke is the prime period for recovery.
I remembered I had a chair that can be used for foot exercises, and so I quickly brought it to him, so he can start rehabilitation and begin his recovery. When we got word that we can visit people again, we quickly visited and gave the family some financial help so they can just concentrate on rehabilitation.
Tzu Chi's financial support has brought relief to the family's situation, giving the sister and wife the assurance they need to continue supporting Kamalanathan's rehabilitation.
I really worry because I never seen him like this. But at the same time, I know he can recover. So I try so many things and I sacrifice myself to bring my husband back to normal. I do most of exercise for him. I control his food. I bring him to massage, acupuncture. I do the best for him now.
I want to recover good. I want to pay my family.
With the double support of Tzu Chi and his family, Kamalanathan's rehabilitation journey took a big leap forward, which has in turn brought a ray of hope into this family's uncertain future.
In Taiwan, when water is discharged from the water treatment plant, it has met the drinking standard and quality. However, when water is sent to households, it may be contaminated by pipelines and water towers. Hence, even when tap water is available, many people still buy drinking water.
A water truck appears at a fixed time, filling water bottles left at the front door of residences.
When we cook at home, we use this kind of spring water. We also use tap water at home.
Regardless of whether the owner is present, the service delivers right to the home.
It's about 30 US cents a week, so about $1.5 US a month is enough.
The water source is inspected once a year. When it is disinfected, sometimes it smells like disinfectant for a few days, so the most people don't like tap water.
Buying water at a water filling station is a daily activity for Kaohsiung residents.
Yes, I have tap water at home, but most people buy potable water.
Water quality of water filling stations is managed by local sanitation units, and the inspection is divided into two categories: drinking water and non-drinking water.
If it is labeled it needs to be boiled before drink, we call it non-drinking water. In our laboratory, we test bromate and the content of heavy metals. And for those that you can drink directly without boiling, we'll add another microbiological part in the testing.
E. coli, fecal streptococcus, and Pseudomonas aeruginosa are tested for, and this regulation is very clear. But for other kinds of water, such as Maifan stone and bamboo crystal charcoal water, there's no special standard for verification. They actually come from the same tap water, but the difference is only in the filter material.
The industry should provide proof of filter material and relevant supporting information because it is a general commodity. The point is how to obtain it and provide safe and hygienic water instead of providing any effects.
The geology of our central and southern part is grey shell and mudstone. This kind of sedimentary rock is very easy to dissolve, creating what we call hard water.
After being processed by the advanced processing plant, it has dropped from 200 to about 100 ppm.
The so-called hardness of water depends on the calcium carbonate content in the water. According to water quality standards, Taiwan stipulates that the calcium carbonate content per liter of water should not exceed 300 mg, which is the same as Japan. But in the United States, the European Union and World Health Organization actually have no regulations.
In our mind, it is impossible to directly drink tap water like this.
In Taiwan, this is considered to be hard water, but its amount is quite low. It's only 150 ppm. The calcium we eat every day actually has a higher recommended amount. This calcium coming into our body in theory, it should not cause stones.
Our annual inspection passing percentage is probably over 99.9%. But through the pipeline and the user's water towers needs maintenance and the user's equipment, so we do not encourage users to drink untreated tap water.
The water coming from the water plant has already met the untreated drinking standard. It's just that we didn't choose to drink it untreated.
At this stage, untreated drinking water is not encouraged, but we continue to work towards drinking this water. At the same time, we must pay more attention to emerging pollutants.
At present, we have tested personal health products and drugs in the water body, such as plasticizers. These are not in the normal or standard routine inspection items.
Through surface penetration and the food chain, humans may ingest pollutants that have not been noticed before. This is a product of our civilization. Then drinking water inspection standards should also be continuously improved and updated to ensure the very best health.
Daling Tzu Chi Hospital celebrated its 20th anniversary. Volunteers made nearly 5,000 longevity peach buns to celebrate the event. Let's have a look. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.